Hello, my friends. Good Erev Shabbos. Happy Friday, followed by a beautiful, uplifting, restful, and inspirational Shabbos Kodesh. This week's Torah reading, Parshas Yisro. We are told about the most incredible event in human history when the Jewish people got the Torah. God opened up the heavens and He gave us what is inaccurately known today in English as the 10 Commandments. But we know that we never got 10 Commandments. We got 613 Commandments. Everybody agrees that the original language of the Torah is Lashon HaKodesh, the Holy Tongue, known as Hebrew. And in the Torah, it never says Aseres HaMitzvos, which would be 10 commandments. It says Aseres HaDvarim, the 10 things. And in other places in the Torah, it says Aseres HaDibrot, the 10 statements. You see, they are commandments, but they are also categories, summations of all 613 commandments. And that's what we got at Sinai. The first one shows this more than anything else. The first one, as a matter of fact, the St. James translation or version, really, it's not a translation, it's an opinion of a translation, says, ignores the first one actually. Starts from Lo yeh lecha Elohim achim al panai, do not have any other gods before me, and somehow they divide it up differently and come up with 10. But in actuality, the first one is Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher hotzisecha me'eretz Mitzrayim mibeis avadim. I am the Lord your God that took you out of the land of Egypt from the house of slavery. People have a hard time with that one because where's the commandment? It's a statement, an introduction. Literally, God's introducing Himself. Hi, I'm God. I'm the one giving you these commandments. That's not true. It is a commandment. The Ramban explains, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, or Nachmanides, says that it is the quintessential commandment, the most important. If I may borrow a term I heard on a TV show once, it's the prime directive. We are commanded to believe that there is a God. And we are commanded to believe that God took us out of Egypt. Why are we commanded to believe that? Because if not, nothing else makes sense. Why are we doing all these things? The very next mitzvah, the very next commandment, Lo yeh lecha Elohim achim al panai, do not have any other God in front of me. Why not? If He's not real, I can do whatever I want. And all of them fall apart. The whole system falls apart if we don't have that, what we call emunah, faith, that there is a God. Now, belief in God should be incredibly easy. It is actually, if you think about it logically, not to believe in God makes absolutely no sense. Let me quote President Ronald Reagan, the first president that I was able to vote for. Giving away my age. President Reagan said, I would like to take an atheist and serve him the most elegant, delicious, tasteful, gourmet meal that has ever been served on the face of this planet. And after he's done enjoying every morsel, every course, every part of the meal from the aperitif to the dessert, I want to ask him, do you really believe there was a cook? Of course, President Reagan got a round of laughter and applause after he said that. But think about it. Look at this world. I spent some time this past summer in Alaska looking at these mountains. And I was awed. I couldn't breathe. It was so beautiful. If I were to paint a picture of mountains like that and give it to an atheist and say to him, it happened by itself, paint just got all over the picture and formed by itself, he would tell me I'm crazy. So why is it possible to believe that this all came about by itself? It doesn't make any sense. But yet there are people who don't believe. Why? Incredible answer. The reason is because it's a mitzvah. It's a commandment in the Torah to believe. And therefore, God clouds it and makes it possible not to see what's obvious, that He's there. Because that way, we get rewarded for our mitzvah. We are promised we are going to be rewarded for every mitzvah, every commandment that we do. We're rewarded for it. But you can't be rewarded for something that makes perfect sense, that you can't have it any other way. For instance, we're not rewarded for breathing because that's part of life. Same thing. If it was so easy to believe in God, there wouldn't be a reward. There wouldn't be a mitzvah because it was too simple. So therefore, God made it possible to misunderstand what's right in front of our face and to not believe. But this is the crux. This is the center of everything. Because without this first commandment, nothing else works. But let's go on with the commandment. Asher hotzicha me'eretz Mitzrayim. I am the Lord your God that took you out of Egypt. Why do we have to believe that? Two reasons, says the Ramban. First of all, I can do anything. We have to understand that God is saying, I can do anything. Mitzrayim, the shorish, the root word of the name Mitzrayim is Meitzar, which means closed in. It was a prison camp that was inescapable, and yet He took us out. And secondly, gratitude. We have a relationship with God that others don't, because He took us out of this bondage, of this slavery, and brought us to Mount Sinai and made us His chosen people. We were slaves. He redeemed us, and instead of being slaves to Pharaoh, we became servants of the Almighty. Now here's something very interesting. Yes, it is clouded. Yes, it is possible to not believe, and that's why the mitzvah is there. However, there is one day that God pulls away the clouds, pulls away the shadows, and makes it more obvious. And we only have to try a little bit. And that day is Shabbos Kodesh. That day is Shabbos. If a person were to experience a Shabbos properly, they would see and feel God's presence even more, because that's the day that God takes away the division between us and Him and makes it possible to see Him.